Hi guys, let's tune in. Today is our first lesson on telepathy. Are you excited? Me too. I believe we're all a bit telepathic, and we're going to talk about why. This is not a scary subject. Some people believe in it, some people do not. Chances are if you're here, you either already believe in it or you're a skeptic trying to figure it out. So, welcome. Now, telepathy. Telepathy is the idea that thoughts, feelings, or information can be transferred directly from one mind to another without using the usual senses: speech, writing, body language, etc. Now, spiritual concepts is not something that AI really likes to talk about. It tries to keep you grounded in scientific facts, and sometimes I can even make it glitch because it was not meant to speak about these things. It doesn't have the database for it. So that brings us to our next section of what most people mean by telepathy. In stories and popular culture, telepathy often involves reading someone else's thoughts, sending messages mind to mind, and sharing emotions instantly. When I said that we are all a bit telepathic, I believe we're all sending each other messages mind to mind. But that being said, if you can send somebody a message, that means you can read their thoughts. I found out that I was telepathic because I was feeling people's emotions. And we know emotions are tied to the thoughts. I know. Shout out to my empaths, because imagine living your whole life. And again, I think we all do this. Some are just more heightened to it and others are not. Not just the awareness itself, but the level of empathy, and then the level of your temple, your body being clear enough, not clogged with a bunch of food, and not having ailments, not thinking about what you have to do today, and all of the things that are distracting us from being able to tune in to what is there already, innately, humanely. It was here within us. I believe that this was a part of our abilities long ago, and all of a sudden, by being focused on other things that don't matter, it's keeping us from our actual gifts. Let's continue. What science says. Telepathy is studied under parapsychology, paranormal activity. This is why I said don't be scared. Don't be scared. I don't do dark. There's no reliable scientific evidence that telepathy exists. Experiments have not consistently produced repeatable results, and most scientists consider it unproven rather than real. First of all, we just went through tons of science definitions in energy. I think scientists are the first people to believe that this is real. I don't think that telepathy would have repeatable results because everybody's telepathy works in a different way. Not to mention that most people, I don't think, are understanding that they're telepathic. Because again, I realized that I was feeling other people's emotions. I know. Imagine 29 years of my life not knowing that. And I'm just like, I'm a complex human. I'm a Scorpio. I'm an artist. And I am. But also understanding that I was taking on emotions that were not my own. I was feeling them. I am an empath. We'll talk about empathy soon. I'll tell you, the first time I experienced this, I was at a grocery store. And I was just picking fruit with my headphones on. And I'm waiting in line. And all of a sudden I'm irritated. And don't get me wrong, there's a line. But I was just happy. So it was the first time I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, who's irritated? And I turned around and the girl behind me was like she was, and I was feeling her before I even saw her. And then if I didn't have that awareness that this is not even me, I would have just been like, I'm irritated right now. Now I'm walking around with her fucking emotions because I'm not even aware that this is a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing for me. I don't care. I can feel other people's emotions, which means I can usually understand their thoughts. And I do think that depending on how close you are with somebody, you can understand their thoughts better. There's a level of pattern recognition. If you have that as well, you can start to understand, okay, this person acts this way. And right, if you spend all your life with your mom, chances are you know usually how she sounds, what she thinks about, what she cares about, how her emotions are heightened. Like, I know after a week of not calling my mom, I start hearing her in my head like, you should call your mother. And then I'll call her and she'll be like, hello, nice to call your mother. And I'm like, okay, I got the telepathic signal. So anyway, there's a podcast. It is called Telepathy Tapes. And this lady does experiments with kids on the spectrum. And the kids on the spectrum are able to communicate telepathically with their parents, with their caregivers, and even teachers at times. There's a close relationship happening there. But I would also say that because someone on the spectrum, which I think we all are, but you know what I'm saying? Somebody on the spectrum, they have abilities that we do not have. We have abilities that they don't have. Their abilities become heightened because they're lacking in ability, right? It's compensating for the ability that they don't have. So for example, somebody that's blind, chances are their hearing or a different sense is going to be heightened. It's going to be extra you know what I'm trying to say? Extra something. It's heightened. If they have a heightened ability, I doubt I can't experience that same ability that they have, especially if I focus on it enough. It's like they're able to show us that it's possible. And anyway, they talk about something called the hill, the children on this podcast. And it's where they all telepathically communicate in their mind because they're telepathic. The hill that they call this place that they all meet, in a way it's channeling. Channeling is the ability to bring messages from God or higher up to others. But channeling, right, is when there are collective thoughts happening. If you're on the same frequency as somebody else, chances are you're having the same thoughts as them, okay? There are different groups of people in the world, not just like cliques, groups that you see. It's like, no, people thinking the same way, on the same vibration. So if you're able to tune yourself into that frequency, you're able to be on that hill. Again, we talked about that breath and being able to regulate yourself. You're almost able to bring, like, in the same way it's like, okay, hold on. I want you to think about this. Let's say, like, you're like, oh, I should call my mom. Call her. And then you call her and she says, oh, I was just thinking about you. Okay, did you just call because you thought about calling your mom? Or did you call because you heard her thinking about you, and that thought from her has now become your thought, and you're like, oh, I should call her? How many times has that happened to you where you're talking to somebody, oh, I was just talking about them. Oh, I was just... Exactly. We're all doing it. So this hill of thoughts, if you're able to pick up on mom's thought, who else's thoughts are you picking up on? And essentially channeling is like, okay, I'm going to stay with that thought. We talked about choosing the thought and being like, okay, now which thought do you want to entertain? Probably the thought you never had before. And if you have enough of that thought, now you're on that frequency and you're with those pool of people. Are you understanding me? Anyway, I have different definitions of telepathy. I'll just walk through with you quickly. The general definition: communications of thoughts or feelings from one mind to another without using known senses. Didn't I read that? Yes, I did. The scientific definition, or parapsychology, that paranormal activity, a form of extrasensory perception. That was the extra word I was looking for. Okay. Gaining info beyond the five senses, which gets into the sixth sense. Do I think this is beyond the five senses? I guess. I have to think about that more. Anyway, a form of extrasensory perception where information is traveled between minds without known biological or physical mechanisms. Hypothetical information transfer beyond current science. Psychological, the perception of mind-to-mind communication, usually explained by unconscious cue reading, intuition, or coincidence. So I did say that pattern recognition can play a part in this, right? Especially, right, most people are in their ego and they're living a certain character. If they're being a certain character, chances are I've already read the script, which means I can predict the way you're gonna feel, la la la, right? But there's somebody behind that ego mask too. The question is, can you see that? Do you know who that is? Anyway, what else did it say? Intuition and coincidence. Sure. I've been like picking up on signals and signs from certain people. Don't worry about it. Okay. Philosophical. Direct consciousness to consciousness, right? Are you conscious of that thought? If that's a new thought, that's a new level of consciousness. Connection that bypasses language and sensory experience. Okay, again, I think I can experience this through the senses, but at the same time, when you focus on that breath, you're disconnecting from the body a bit. You're disconnecting the mind a bit. So I understand what it says beyond the sensory experience. It says bypass. I get it, but I still think that there's senses involved. That's a whole different discussion. Fiction and pop culture. A supernatural or psychic ability allowing reading, sending, or sharing thoughts and emotions. Again, I experienced this mainly through the emotions, but now that I'm aware, I don't let it affect my emotions as much. But that means being aware of yourself, right? We want to be aware of our emotional state, our mental state. But it's like, if I start feeling something out of nowhere and I wasn't feeling that all day, I never really feel that way. Layne, I don't really think about much. Like, I think about this stuff. I like to have curious thoughts, fantasy thoughts. I like to explore with my mind. I do get fixated on certain topics, but if I'm thinking about like, oh, I shouldn't do that, oh my God, I know that that's not me, because I'm not really the type of person to be scared. I'm not the type of person to be fearful. I'm not the type of person to get nervous. Not saying like we don't all naturally have those feelings, but if you start thinking about somebody out of nowhere, it's like, I have not thought about you in 500 years, if I was ever thinking about you. The point is, you have to notice, why am I having this thought about this person, about this thing, this place? It's like, chances are they're thinking about you, okay? Okay, last but not least, technical and minimal definition. Transfer of information between minds without any known sensory or physical channel. The communication without signals. Okay, well, anyway, the last thing I have here is that calling somebody, I think we're all a little telepathic. You just have to, if you don't know your own energy, how are you going to know somebody else's? How are you going to know if you're having a thought that is not your own if you don't even know you, the way that you think, the way that you move, right? You have to understand, what do I normally think about? What do I normally want to do? How do I normally feel? And of course, if those things are not super positive, let them go. But again, if you let them go, chances are maybe a state of being that you've been in for so many years was never you. It was just what you had yet to heal, because rumination of the same thoughts over and over come from you not solving the problem, solving the issue. So once you solve it, maybe that was never you. It's just who you became in order to not feel that way anymore. This is what I think about. Okay? So when I be thinking about other stuff, like, I still have to catch myself and be like, oh, that is not me. Just like to cut it right away and be like, no, because then I'm feeding that thought. I'm feeding that person back. I'm entertaining their thought about me. And that's my energy. That's how you start to clock it. And last but not least is when your mom knows something's wrong. Like when you're like, there's an innate feeling like I felt something. I don't know if your mom's ever told you that. It's like, okay, everything's fine, or something was wrong, or you don't want to tell her, right? The point is that I believe that why wouldn't there be, like, of course we're supposed to be connected to each other. We need each other. Let's say like you're in a relationship or a friendship with somebody and you spend years with them. There's something still connecting you guys because that was a lesson, right? And until one of you learns the lesson, it still exists. And then when one person does, it's stuck with the person who hasn't until they do. Hopefully they do. And then it's dissolved. Not saying that because energy can't be destroyed or created, but it can be transformed. The transformation by healing it. The transformation by once you've healed it, now you can put that love, that lesson into somebody else. Are you with me? Okay, guys. I'm done for this week, guys. Talk to you guys soon. Love you. You telepathic motherfucker. Bye.